I'm so sorry.
It's okay, you don't have to be sorry. Just know, like, I'm not upset with you. I understand that's a terrible position to be in. I was just in a power couple just before you, so I understand it's a really impossible situation.
I specifically chose the clip that I showed because I wanted to end KayKay's time in the villa on a positive note. I don't like the way she behaved towards Nicola. I am one who's always championing about how people of color are not treated very well in the villa. But for KayKay to throw a tantrum, given the fact that she was in a similar situation when she chose Solem and Meth, it doesn't make sense. Yes, her feelings are hurt, but still at the same time, there's a way of addressing your feelings as an adult without making someone feel like crap. Do I feel like Nicola was a victim? No, she wasn't. But at least she deserved the conversation that she had at the end with KayKay. I wish KayKay had just said to her, at the moment, I'm in my feelings, give me a moment. And that would have been enough. For Chris to have the audacity to be upset and say that, oh, Zay is my friend. I don't understand why he made me vulnerable. Zay wasn't his friend. Zay was a number because Chris thought the Americans would always protect the Americans. He didn't expect Zay to be strategic. Zay is there for the game. Chris was there to rebuild his persona and revamp his character from his last time in the villa. That's the impression that I get. Because Zay's decision makes sense to those that know that this is Love Island Games and not Love Island. So I stand with Zay and Nicola in their decision, even though this put a strain on the two of them. Anyway, I digress. Hey there, thanks for stopping by. It's Valerie. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Love Island Games, Season 2, Episode 8. So the Islanders have finished, the heart rate challenge is finished, they're sort of standing up and separating. You have Isaiah and Sydney have just a brief chat. It was a bit awkward, but they hugged each other and they seem to be in a good space. They agree that, well, Sydney insists that she needs to speak to him. He hasn't said anything, but you could tell he was very uncomfortable. The guys were asking him, how long did you date for? Is there any tension? And he was trying to be cordial, I think, as the person who knows that they did wrong in the relationship. So he's trying to be cordial and trying to be sort of more understanding, for lack of a better word. Anyway, Sydney is speaking to the girls and the girls are asking her, so how long were you with Isaiah? She said they dated for a year. They haven't seen each other in 2 years, but she feels she needs a conversation with him. The girls are asking her, so have you come back to make up with him or something? And she said, no, I'm here so that we can have a conversation and then I'll keep it stepping because at the end of the day, I want the money just like anybody else. I think the Islanders are seeing how big the show has become and they are agreeing to come back so that they can increase on the clout that they had the first time when the show wasn't as big. Sydney has tried. She's gone as far as Australia. Australia was really dry for her. So I'm happy that she's here. Hopefully she's not as chaotic as last time and she can do what she says she's there for. Johnny and Andrea go for a chat. Andrea, for me, I don't get it. I really don't get it. I'm struggling to understand this girl. I don't think Love Island is the place for her. I think she needs to go to Ayana Fix My Life. She might not meet criteria, but she needs to go to Ayana Fix My Life. Anyway, she's talking about the fact that she's tired of losing. She feels deflated. She starts to cry. Johnny's trying to console her. And instead of listening to the words coming out of his mouth, she ran in and she kissed him. And I think Johnny is becoming confused as well because every time they're trying to have a conversation, she runs in for a kiss. I don't know whether she's trying to stop him from saying anything that might not come across great or whether this is her coping mechanism. I still don't understand it. I really don't understand it and I'm struggling. I'm baffled by it and I'm struggling to understand why the need to constantly kiss this man if that's not, they're trying to have a conversation and they're trying to build on whatever they have. You have Toby go for a chat with Andrea. Andrea feels some type of way because, this is the second time she's vulnerable. Every time she's being stolen from her couple. So not only is she vulnerable, but she's being stolen from her couple and she doesn't know how to deal with that, how to compute that. She feels like she can't catch a break. She's another one who's deflated. And Toby was trying to say, look at it this way. We are the underdog in this situation and we have to go in ready to fight. If you are now deflated, then we're never going to win. So we have to see ourselves as the underdog. underdogs and see ourselves as constantly having to fight to sort of win, and hopefully we will get there. And it's like, if that's what you think, amazing for you. So Mervyn is getting to know everyone. He's meeting the guys. He's having a chat with the guys and sort of just trying to see where they stand. Chris and KayKay go to Soul Ties to have a conversation. Chris, is saying that they've dropped in the rankings. He doesn't understand what's happened. They sort of discussed Justine with KayKay asking him, so how was your kiss with Justine? Was there a spark there? Is there something that you want to explore? He was refusing to discuss that. KayKay then said, I could turn it around on you and ask you about Tariq. And we all know that KayKay likes Tariq. KayKay likes Tariq, but she comes across as though she wants to win more than she likes Tariq, but I think it's the other way around. While they were having a chat, Mervyn came and, pulled KayKay for a chat. Chris wasn't happening. He said, am I dreaming? Am I dreaming? And it's like, yeah, well, this is not your woman. You've told her that your priorities are winning and then relationship afterwards. So if other guys want to explore her, allow them to explore her. They went to Speakeasy. And it was really cute to see her. KayKay, I think, likes the attention that she's getting. And I appreciate that the guys that she's getting this time are better than Keenan, because Keenan wasn't it for her. So it's nice that she's getting better caliber of guys, but but the problem is no one is putting as much pressure as she needs in order for her head to turn. And I was thinking that maybe Mervyn would be it, because it seems like Tariq, if he makes an effort and you don't turn, he's moving on to the next conquest. So they had a chat. It was really cute. I loved it. I thought it was the sweetest thing ever. And I was looking forward to them sort of exploring that connection. And then the winners, the power couple, Isaiah and Nicola, they were having a conversation. They were very happy that they won, because they were in the dumps when they were, when they were vulnerable. So at least this time they've won. They're excited. They're very giddy. I love that Isaiah, when he looks at, Nicola, he looks at her as a little sister and is always trying to sort of hype her up. And you can see his excitement for her when good things are happening. So this was really sweet to see. So they receive a text message. Nicola and Isaiah, as a new power couple, you've won a night in the hideaway, which was really sweet for them because they're in a friendship couple. So it was a bit aux galore. The guys went to help Isaiah get ready for the night. Nicola, the girls were getting her ready, and they were asking her to put on lingerie. And it's like, why are we doing this when we know that they're in a friendship couple? Why exactly? Sydney on a part didn't seem bothered. Isaiah seemed happy. He picked up Nicola. They went to the hideaway. Nicola and Isaiah are that couple that are going to surprise us and actually develop a romantic connection. Yes, I don't know at the moment because they're in the dumps, because they're upset with one another, but they're giving me vibes of that couple that's going to surprise everyone and end up with a romantic connection that nobody else saw coming. They went to the hideaway. They looked very cute. Everybody was cheering them on and happy for them that they were going to the hideaway. And it was like, oh, that's really sweet. I love it for them. They are the sweetest couple ever. So I didn't know Sydney and Toby knew each other. Apparently they met at the premiere of Love Island Games. It seems they shared a kiss, and Toby was sort of teasing her about that and saying, oh, you remember we met at the premiere and we shared a kiss. Have you changed your lipstick? I knew it was you from your lips and stuff. And it's like, Toby is crazy. He's crazy. He asked her, so what's going on? What's your plan? Do you plan on speaking to Isaiah? She insists that yes, she needs to talk to Isaiah. I think it's just out of respect and for closure. This is the impression that I'm getting from Sydney, that she wants to speak to Isaiah out of respect and for closure, and then once that's done, then she moves on. And it's like, okay, if that works for you, amazing. Everyone is getting ready for the night, and people are sort of talking about the fact that these two people are in the hideaway. The girls that are vulnerable are upset because Andrea is saying that KayKay is her friend, so to be put in the situation whereby she might have to battle her friend, she doesn't know how that's going to play across. And it's like, well, what do you think? At some point, you're going to go head to head with your friend. Even if it was in the finale, you were still going to go head to head with your friend. So at the moment, this is where you are, so you might as well make the most of it and fight for it, and whoever wins, wins. Whoever loses, it is what it is. The islanders get ready for the night and they all go to sleep. And then poor Nicola, while she's enjoying herself, sipping on champagne in the hideaway, they then received a text message with Isaiah, and it's like, why? Can't they catch a break? The message was, Nicola and Isaiah, congratulations on becoming the power couple. From the three vulnerable couples, you can now choose two boys to duel and one another, and two girls to duel one another tomorrow. And it's like, well, that's a bit messy. The losing boy and girl from the duel will be dumped from the villa immediately. I think production had someone they had in mind that they wanted to send home. And so they decided that instead of saying couple against couple, they would ask them to pick individuals. And I agree with Isaiah. I know people know that I wasn't a fan of Chris. The way he was moving in the villa this time around, I didn't like it. I know he was on a revamp of his character, his persona, his image, whatever he was aiming for. I didn't like it. But at the end of the day, Isaiah was right to say, this is our only opportunity to try and get Chris out because he and Johnny are vulnerable. So if they go head to head, that's the best chance of getting one of the biggest threats in the villa, because either Johnny goes home or Chris goes home, which is a very big, sort of chance of you getting to the finale and leaving it up to the viewers. So I totally agree with Isaiah. On her part, Nicola was sort of debating the girls. I get where she's coming from. It wouldn't have been fair to sort of pair Andrea with Andreina. That would just be, the body types would be a bit too much, because especially with how they had to drag that. And same with KayKay and putting her against Andreina, it didn't make sense. It made more sense either to put KayKay with Andrea, or maybe put Andrea versus Andreina. So I get where she was coming from, and I get her decision. Do I agree? I would have loved KayKay to stay in the villa, to be with Tariq. But at the same time, KayKay is very unreliable in the sense that had Chris gone home, she would have packed her bags and gone with him. That's the type of person that she is. So I don't think it was worth sort of risking that. So I get why they put KayKay and Andrea to go head to head. In the morning, the islanders wake up. Everyone is just tired. They are all sort of questioning what's happened in the hideaway. Chris goes out and he notices the boxing ring. And so he comes and he calls everyone. Everyone goes outside to see this boxing ring that's out there, because they don't understand, why do we have a boxing ring? So while they're standing there, they receive a text message which reveals that, two boys are going to go head to head and two girls are going to go head to head. And you can see Toby's already shaking because he's thinking, oh my God, this is it. This is the end of the road. The message came through and it was revealed that Johnny is going to go head to head with Chris. For Toby to say, oh, my guy Isaiah, thank you. It's like, read the room. This is not the time. And once it was revealed, you could tell that Chris wasn't happy. Johnny knew it was only a matter of time. People were going to see him as a threat because he's back for his second shot. On the other hand, you then had the girls revealed, and it was revealed that KayKay and Andrea are going head to head. It makes more sense. Because either way, Andreina would have been physically way too challenging for the girls to sort of go head to head. Even all the girls in the villa, she is menacing with just how she is. Yes, she doesn't appear to have the stamina, but when you look at her, you're just like, oh my God. The girls weren't happy. So you had people going there, couples. You had Andrea go with Toby, KayKay went with Chris, and also Johnny went with Andreina. And they're just speaking in their couples that, okay, this is where we are. What do we do? Johnny was just saying, I'm going to have to battle him. At some point, I would have needed to battle him, either today or in the finale. So I might as well just go head to head with him and get it out of the way. Chris, on his part, he was very upset. He couldn't understand why Isaiah had nominated him. And it's like, buddy, you're a threat. This is Love Island Games. This is not Love Island Relationships. If it was relationships, he would have saved you because you've got a connection with KayKay and he would have needed you as a number. But this is Love Island Games, whereby at some point he might need to go against you. And if he knows that he's never going to be able to battle you and take you out, he has to get somebody else to do the dirty work for him. So I get where he's coming from. KayKay was furious because she was saying, I'm going against my best friend. And it's like, KayKay, you and Chris just sat there and gave an excuse that you're sending people home because they're not in a romantic couple. And now suddenly you two are there aggrieved. I don't get it. So you have Nicola still in the hideaway with Isaiah, and they're having a conversation because Nicola is upset. You can see she's upset because she didn't want Chris to be vulnerable. She didn't want the vote that they did for the guys. She was exploring a connection with Chris. I personally don't know how genuine Chris was in regards exploring a connection with Nicola. So I'm happy that Isaiah used common sense and didn't use emotion, because he was more strategic when it comes to gameplay as compared to Chris. Chris voted for his countrymen, whereas Isaiah voted against his threat. He wanted to get his threats out of the villa, and he was going to do anything and everything in order to get them out. Because had he paired anyone with Toby, that person would still have come back. So I get why he decided to make Toby safe and put the two biggest threats in the villa to make them vulnerable. They came out of the hideaway, and it was very awkward. It was really very awkward, because you had Chris and KayKay refusing to speak to them or even look at them. And it's like, that's being childish. Everybody else was there, was consoling them and was telling them, we understand the decision you had to make. You had Nicola sort of try and have a conversation with KayKay. She refused to speak to her. And she said, Nicola was now saying, I feel isolated again. I thought I'd started to blend in with the group. Now with her feeling this way, I feel isolated because I don't know where to go. Isaiah tried to speak to Chris. Chris refused. He said, this is too personal. And it's like, it's not too personal. This is strategic. This is what you would have done had you been in his position. So the idea that you feel some type of way doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense. I think he was making a bigger deal out of it. Chris, so you had Isaiah saying, he was asked, do you regret picking Josh or Chris? And he was like, I feel bad, but at the end of the day, I had to do what was best for gameplay. More or less, that was what he implied. They went to get ready. You had the girls crying, KayKay and Andrea crying because they were going to go head to head. The boys, Tyreek is a menace, because Tyreek and the rest of the guys were hyping up Johnny, because they were using Johnny to go and take out the biggest threat in the villa. If he can take that threat out, now their problem is Johnny. But first, Johnny needs to take out what? The biggest threat. That's the impression that I got. Anyway, the islanders then gathered around the fire pit by the ring because it was time to go head to head. Ariana Maddox arrived. And you had Ariana sort of ask, what's going on? How do you feel? She asked Nicola. And Isaiah, and Nicola said, I didn't agree with the decision to put these boys head to head. I would have preferred either Johnny goes against Toby or Chris goes against Toby. So either way, she wanted Toby in the ring. But with Isaiah said, no, I want Toby out. I want these two giants to go head to head. So it's really sad that Chris was being a baby about this, whereas Johnny took it for what it was. Johnny was asked, he said, either way I was going to go against Chris. Be it today or in the finale, I was going to go against him. So it's time that I do it, and we're doing it now. For Nicola to say she feels really bad, and then KayKay say, you're not a victim. I don't feel sorry for you. I was just the power couple recently. It's like, I personally don't like that comment. I don't. Irregardless of who says it. Had Nicola said it or had KayKay said it, I didn't like that because it felt unsportsmanlike. It felt like sour grapes when you've been in the same position and you've made a slightly similar decision. So I didn't like that. At least this is justified. Whereas the decision that Chris and KayKay made wasn't, because they went for countrymen instead of going for the biggest threat. So Ariana reveals that what's going to happen is a sandbag is going to fall into the middle of the ring. There were 4 squares that were in different colors, matching the outfits that the islanders were wearing, and you had to drag the sandbag into your position and keep it there for 45 seconds. Otherwise, if the horn went off and it was in somebody else's, then that scored them a point. First up was the girls, KayKay and Andrea. First round, Andrea won. Second round, KayKay's shoe fell off and she kicked her shoes off and she kept going, and sadly she lost both rounds, which meant she was going home. And she said, it wasn't my time, but what can I do? Then went Chris and Johnny. Chris, I think his ego was bruised by the fact that Johnny beat him mercilessly the first round, and he knew that the second round he didn't have the strength to do it. Because he said he felt his finger crack. We didn't see that finger be splintered, or they didn't put anything to try and sort of correct it. They didn't appear. It could have been a hairline fracture, but at that, they could have bandaged those fingers together and told him not to move them until they were x-rayed. So for him to say, I've decided that it's not worth it. And it's like, you knew it wasn't worth it from the moment you came in, but you came in and you made it seem like you were always going to win. I feel like Chris realized that he wasn't the biggest threat as he thought. I think he was intimidated by Johnny and knew that had he gone for a second round with Johnny, Johnny was going to drag him mercilessly, and he didn't want to face the embarrassment. So this is why he decided to bow out. For them to say the medics said, it's not safe for him, I don't get it, because at one point he was sort of not moving his hand because he said it was injured, and yet in the final hug or group hug that he called for, his hand was hugging other people, and it's like, which is it? Is your hand injured and you're not moving it, or is it not injured and you're still able to move it? Anyway, the Islanders then were told that Chris and KayKay were going home. Johnny said, you'd have wanted to continue going and go on for a second round, but hey, a win is a win, so he'll take the win that he's got. Everyone was excited to see the biggest threat leave. I was excited as well, because I didn't think it was fair that Chris was in the villa. I think had Chris come in the way he came in as a casa boy, I would have loved him, but I think he came back and he was too pompous. This is why I wanted him to go home. KayKay then pulled Nicola for a chat. I think it was due. I think it was important for KayKay to leave on a positive note, because had she left with the way she spoke to Nicola, that would have been really bad. So they had the conversation. They said they were in the best of places, and they hugged it out, which was good. But then for Chris to say, KayKay and I are going to continue what we started. He told us he wasn't there for love. So when did it change to love? Because right up until he went into the ring, he was still saying he's just there for the money. So when did it change from being about the money to suddenly him being interested in her romantically? I am side-eyeing him. I have a feeling he said that just because he wants clout, and he knows how people love couples that leave the villa together. So he's going to milk this relationship, and then after time he's going to break things off. I can foresee that coming. Anyway, thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe. Click the link in my video to watch my review from episode 7. Bye guys.